Welcome to the PodFather Podcast. You can find all our episodes on podfather.me. You can find everything about me. Scan the QR code. You can find the 6 podcasts or go to roycollin.com. If you're looking for virtual assistants, go to va.world. And if you go to the gym, but you don't think about your brain, go to braingym.fitness. It's interesting stuff that we've got on that one. My guest is also a podcaster. He's got 3 shows. He's from Alabama in the USA. His main one is Little Venom podcast with a very cool logo for those watching on BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble. Please welcome Noah May.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I can't wait for our conversation today.
Yeah, no problem. I suppose let's kind of start off with your kind of podcasting journey and which show was first and how you got all into it.
So the podcast started about 2 years ago, but it was like kind of a 4-year work in progress. In 2021, I kind of just had like one day decided I wanted to start a podcast, but of course had no idea where to begin. So I did some research about what the best platforms were, how to upload podcasts on the podcast platforms, and I came across this program called Anchor, which has been rebranded as Spotify for podcasters now, but at the time it was called Anchor. And all it was a platform where you could record your episode and it would just immediately upload and be published out. And so I had gotten everything situated and I thought, well, I can just record it on my phone because you could record on your phone. Well, then I had some personal stuff come up where it kind of got postponed. And then when I came to Auburn, I was in a journalism class and we had a guy come and chat with us about a podcasting class that he was starting. And I thought, I want to be the first one in that class. So I went to my advisor, said, I really would like to be in this podcasting class. Can I be on the list to be able to get in it? So luckily I was one of the first people to get in. I got in, learned some insights about podcasting, about microphones, ways to pitch your show and kind of have like an intro. And then we had to do like a podcasting pitch where we had to pitch a show. And so the first one that I did was Southern Reads, which was the book podcast, because I love reading. And so at the time, I wanted to start a book podcast. But as I was trying to come up with the pitch plan and the idea for that one, Lethal Venom kind of started because I thought, I want to do a podcast where it's more of a generic variety-based show. So I think I had pitched actually both podcasts to the class, and some people had good things to say about it. Some people kind of were critics about the ideas that I had. So after the class had gotten done, I still had a lot to learn. There were still a lot of questions I had about podcasting. It was, well, how do you create like an RSS feed? How do you get your show published and submitted to be on platforms? And so there was still a lot of questions I had. And so after the class got done, I kept doing research and did that. Well, then end of last year, I thought, okay, I need the artwork for it. And so I contacted some people that I knew that were artists that could draw really well and do digital art. And I said, hey, I want to do a podcast and I want to can you design it for me? They said that they would, but they were asking for a very high price for it. And of course, I was still in college and couldn't really afford it at the time because the money that they were asking could have gone towards essentials that I need. And so I kind of took it upon myself. I just got on Photoshop and kind of used AI a little bit to help design the cover art for it. And then once that was done, it was ready to go. And then started about this year, back in February, 1st of March, that's when I kind of started posting for Lethal Venom, and it's kind of just taken off since then.
And for those that aren't maybe watching on the video channel, it grabs your attention because it's like the Little Venom is in a glass, but with the wording at the end. But I always tell people, does the logo grab your attention? And I think you've done a good job there. I think when people are scrolling through the iTunes and they see a logo, that's going to stop them and go, what's that about?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of trying to come up with a name was a little challenging. I originally wanted my podcast to be Poison or Venom. And so I went on iTunes and I went on different podcasting platforms and I just searched, was there a podcast called Poison? Was there a podcast called Venom? And of course, both of them were taken. And I thought, well, I want my show name to be kind of different from everything else. So I had to play around with some words and then I thought, I wonder if Lethal Venom's taken. And luckily it wasn't. So I thought, okay, got the name down. The name kind of comes from my podcast is very much truthful. I like to tell the honest truth on there. Every episode I have either it's me telling the truth or my guests coming on there and sharing their honest opinions about stuff. And I thought I want my name to kind of reflect it because sometimes when people hear the truth kind of can hurt. And no matter how serious it is, sometimes it can hurt. And I thought, well, Venom's hurtful. If you ever get bit by a snake or a spider or anything that has poison, poison hurts. And I thought, well, it's lethal. So that's kind of how the name came to be. And so the artwork kind of depicts a cup and it's yellow, and I wanted that to kind of resemble the color of Venom. So Venom usually has a yellow tint color to it, so it's like a huge cup of venom that you're drinking, and that's kind of like how the truth is. It's like kind of hurts. So that's kind of where the name and the artwork and how the idea came about.
So I know that you have a bachelor's degree in journalism. So like researching for it, because if you said you wanted to do truth and stuff like that, because like I've got one, My Awakening, man, is kind of like that as well, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. And you have to be careful in the research because there's so much out there that they're trying to catch you. Because there's a lot of people doing research, irrespective of their podcast. How would you, based on your journalism training, encourage people or suggest the best way of doing it?
I would say if you're a podcast that does research based and you want fags, I 100% would not trust just anyone on social media. Because social media nowadays has a tendency to really spread lies and can just make one assumption and people can really run with it. I would try to find news stations as well as very credible sources like Britannica. If there's like a book that's been published that kind of gives a lot of good information about, say you're doing a history podcast and you want to learn and present like the Vietnam War, I would say maybe for resources and research, maybe interview someone that might have fought in the Vietnam War. Look at books that have been published. I would recommend probably more organizational type sites. So if there's like a .org about it, that's usually the best way to go. Don't really look on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, all these platforms that can really twist the truth a lot, because usually most of the time they're just pulling that just from their mind and they're just trying to make an assumption. So I would be really careful about who you use for research, but usually if you go to a library, if you try to do researches from libraries, that's usually the best way to go. And then for websites, I would use Britannica or some kind of website that has a .org on it.
Okay. And for those watching the video, you have your social media on the screen. I mean, you've got like the green screen, but you've got your logo of your podcast, which is cool. Then below it is like where it's available. But I like the way you've done the social media because it's not too cluttered. I mean, Yeah, mine has got two way of I played around with it, different things, but I love the way that you've actually done that there with the things. So you're showing your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, and the YouTube. And have you played around with that, or have you done it like that from the start? Have you found what works best for when you're kind of sharing your screen?
So the background just was recently new. I had a guest come on my show that had this kind of background. I thought I'm infiltrating that into my show. But I'm infiltrating it. That way it kind of has my background. But it also kind of showcases what an easy way for people watching. If they're listening to the show now, they can go check it out while they're listening. And so this took about 30 minutes. I know it looks like it could be done in 2 minutes. It took 30 minutes. Um, I used Canva for it. Canva's been was a great tool for it. I kind of used a template for it, but I mean, I kind of do my own little twist on it. I, but I've very much enjoyed it. So this is just infiltrated, I think, this week or maybe like end of last week. So, but when I first started doing interviews, it was just kind of a blurred background. So to be able to have this kind of background, I've I've really enjoyed it. So like if I came on your show and saw this kind of background for the first time, I'd been like, I'm doing that. I'm infiltrating that into my show. Somehow, some way I will.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, like that's the thing as well when you're guesting or even people coming on, you're learning all the time. I mean, that's where the QR code. I saw somebody at one station the QR code, and I goes, okay, that's easy. That because then people pick up the phone and they just scan it and they're going straight to my website, and that's the beauty of podcasting. There's so many different things, whether it's forms or something like that. You look at someone else's and you go, oh, that's a nice thing to put into the form, and you just update your form or whatever process that you have. You just kind of incorporate it. So with the social media, then I mean, how are you navigating that? Because there's some. I saw Blue Sky. You're on Blue Sky. There's a load of different ones. Have you found what your go-to yet that you feel is serving you best?
It really depends. Social media, it's hard to start a whole new account unless if you haven't had it for years. Um, yeah, it was kind of difficult at first navigating what social media platforms would do the best on. TikTok seems to be the one that kind of has done the best. But Instagram, I'm able to make more personal connections and I'm able to follow a lot of people that I've had on my show, and I also follow podcasts that I've been on a show on. And it's just kind of a way to kind of show support to each other. So I use TikTok mainly for the posting of stuff, and I'll post it on Instagram as well. But I usually on Instagram usually just support other podcasters that I've had or other podcasts that I know, and just kind of support them and kind of see what they're up to and check them out on whatever they're doing. But a lot of people usually, the only thing I really post on my socials is my trailers and teasers for the episode. And I usually post surveys. And that's kind of a way for my audience to kind of be involved in the show. And they kind of just fill out a survey. Like, next, one of the surveys I just made was I had like a camp story that I thought that was very entertaining. And so one of the surveys that I've made is for them to have a chance to, if they've been to camp, and it could just be like a thing for school. It could be something for summer. It could just be like a family camping trip. I have them say that they could fill out and just share their story, and I can read it on the show. So it's kind of my way to have my audience as well be able to be a part of it and be able to um, be included in it. So um, it's kind of my way of giving thanks to them and being able to be like, hey, if you want to participate, here's that. I'm also like doing like a game night with my friends where we're all gonna come on here and do like a game night on Zoom. So that's another episode I have planned. So I'm excited for that one. But I try to get my audience involved as well because I think a lot of podcasters don't. They just kind of do it all them, and then they kind of just at the end say, well, thank you for listening. But I try to kind of infiltrate and kind of add my listeners into it as well, because it's, if they're listening and want to be a part of it, it's the least I can do for them to be able to be um, involved in it and have a chance to actually be be a part of it. So I've really enjoyed it. I've had a lot of submissions on different surveys, and I've enjoyed reading them. So I've had a lot of fun doing it, and they seem to be liking it as well.
And I don't know, was it on TikTok that I was looking, or wanted a channel, or maybe it was YouTube, where you were basically asking for people that had a bad kind of customer experience. And I just thought it's a good way of doing it. But then I'm wondering, do you have a way of when it's done that you're sending it to them? Because the thing is, when somebody is being mentioned, it's a very clever way of doing it, because people then become like a fan for life because they're already after connecting with you. And I'm just wondering, the people that actually, I'm not sure how many would write in, because it'll depend on the question and stuff like that. But are you actually sending them the episode then when it's created, that the people have given the input?
So the background about the surveys is I like to keep everyone's information private. So I use the Google Forms application to send them out, and I don't actually ask for names on there, so it's completely anonymous. So I'm not quite sure really who sends any of the information, if it's people I'm really close friends with, or if it's just like a random person that actually saw the post on social media that sent it in anonymously. So I don't have any way of contacting them and sending them out, but I do say, like, every time new episode out. So if they've sent it in, they kind of get one form of communication and one way of being able to say, oh, that episode posted. Let me see if he read my response. So I keep everything private just for that, because some people don't want their name out there. And some of the stories I've shared, they like to be like anonymous, because they really call someone out or call someone by their name, and so they don't want to be ratted out for it. So I keep everything confidential, so that privacy is the private details, and they don't get in trouble for saying what they want to say.
Fair enough. I mean, you could always have it that they have the email, if you want me to send you the thing when it goes out, and then it's not a requirement, because sometimes in the forms you have to fill in a certain part, but others it doesn't matter whether you do or not, and it's just another way. So the other thing is, like, where it's listened to, and like iHeartRadio. I remember when I added that, I was like, that's a good one. That's a good platform to be on, because it makes a difference. I see Pandora as well, and you've got the Amazon ones. Like, which ones have you? Pandora's hard on our side, because I'm based in Europe. I'm in Poland, but so I got some on, and others it was very hard because kind of had to be in America. But which ones have you found have served you best?
Spotify and Apple Podcasts usually have been the best go-to, because they're the most popular ones that technically everyone has. You know, podcast comes with the phone, so I mean they don't really have to necessarily download it. It kind of comes with the phone, or any Apple product. Spotify usually has been probably more beneficial towards me, because um, everyone I know has it. The other platforms, I knew that Amazon Music did, because I use Spotify for podcasters or creators now. They keep changing the name. I use that platform to help showcase all my podcasts, and that's how all my episodes get published. And I did not know really that Amazon Music had one, but the one I was really most surprised on was Pandora. I had no idea Pandora did podcasts now, because when I remembered Pandora, it was music only. So, um, but then I had to do research of, oh, well, how do I get my podcast on Pandora? And it was like a separate creator thing that I had to publish the show on. And once I got that up, it got available on there. So that was kind of the newest one. I try to focus on getting the most popular ones on there. So I know a lot of people use these platforms. And the best thing about it is that most of them can listen to it for free. Like for the Apple Podcast and YouTube, you don't even have to have a subscription or a login. You can just listen to it for free. Um, I assume iHeartRadio is the same. I'm not sure about. I know Spotify has that free plan, but I don't know how that would work with.
I think it's the way, because I have the paid plan, but it's usually that there's ads in it. So you still can listen, but they put their ads in every kind of 30 minutes or something like that. And so if, you don't have to subscribe if you don't want to.
And Pandora, I don't really know now. I don't know if you can still do Pandora for free. I don't know. I think you now have to have a paid plan. But those are the main ones. And there's like a lot more out there. It's just I try to include the main ones on there. I always just say if you have a podcast platform, it's more than likely on there.
So your other one, Music Talks Podcast. Is it that you play a song for that and comment on it, or what's the whole premise around that podcast?
So that podcast is the newest one I've come out with. It kind of originated a month ago. I thought, okay, what's the way for me to just talk more and not shut up? That's genuinely why I made it. It was like, obviously, I don't like to shut up. The format of that is, it's hard because I don't quite know the rules and guidelines when it comes to music being played on the show. I recently had a guest on my show that hasn't been published yet, but he was a singer, and I thought, I want him to sing something to see how good of a singer he is. But then I was like, can he sing a song? Because copyright's such a huge hassle here. I don't know now in Europe. I don't know if it's the same over there. But copyright in the States is outrageous. Anything like if you play like a millisecond of a song, your video gets taken down or something. And so I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know if he can just sing a song because I've like, can you play like a copyrighted song on podcast? I don't know. And so I said, and luckily he had a podcast, and I said, well, just sing the theme song for your show because I know that won't get copyrighted. But music talks, usually what I do is it's kind of an album breakdown. I kind of do like album reviews and song reviews on there. I kind of just make like a whole note-taking thing, kind of describe each song on the album, tell my honest opinion about it. And then, as I do with the Lethal Venom one, I have my listeners share their rating and their opinions on the album. I don't play songs on there, like snippets of the song, due to the fact of I don't know if I'd get in trouble for that.
Yeah,
And
it can take it down, and also sometimes you can't monetize it if you're even if it's a minute. I know I've had somebody on, they've gone into that, they were able to do it. They were kind of doing church music and stuff like that, but they were able to find out how exactly you're supposed to do it. I forget because I haven't re-edited it and put it out yet, but they were talking about that. But I know for myself, even one of my YouTube videos was my son at a play, and it got struck because the music that they had in the play, and you're like, what? So they are I mean, it's AI, you can grab everything, so it's not as if like you're just kind of hoping it won't get you. So yeah, you have to be careful if you're actually using the music on it.
Yeah, and a lot of the main thing that I had a takeaway from my podcasting class was you have to have intro music. I was like, because trying to find like the perfect song that was copyright friendly was a pain because it took forever to try to find a show or music that would fit the tone of the episode. And it got so tedious trying to edit the music in as well as trying to fade it in and out. So I was like, because I did it for the first episode before I published it, I played it. And when I heard the intro into the episode, I was like, no, I don't like it. So I actually just don't even use music or outro music at all for my show. I know a lot of people do, and I don't because it gets tiring because I would have to edit that part every time, and it gets annoying. And so I just don't use music. It's quicker for me to edit. I don't have to go and save it on my computer and find because I'd like to try to have music that would fit the tone, and I was just like, I don't want to search for 30 minutes for a song.
Mm. I mean, it's a very important point because I've kind of gone through. I mean, I'm 7 years now. It's like in 2018 I started the podcasting, and I had music at one stage as my brother had given me something, and also one of the guests who was in Toastmasters gave me some, and then I had a beatboxer, and then I was like, it's a lot of work because you are inserting it, and then you're doing your different intro, then you're putting in the music in the next bit. But I started watching the analytics. People like, so when somebody comes along and says you should have music, it's because they think that you should have music. And if you look at all the top ones, there's very few who actually have. They just go straight into it. And when you look at the analytics and you see people are skipping it, it's like, nah, this doesn't work. But if people feel that it's for them and they want to get the up vibe and do it. But if somebody's coming in, that's the way I see it. If someone's coming in, they're interested in, just say they clicked on your thing and they're listening to 2 minutes. Some people have a 5 minute intro. They're gone. They're gone after 30 seconds. And people have to know that people's attention span is, if you've got milliseconds, and it's like you have to grab their attention fast. So if you're just assuming they like your music. So for example, my Polish one, the beatbox, it sounded cool. It was grand. It was a cool thing. A guy done a beatbox for me. But when I removed it, so many people thanked me. And it's like, it was cringeworthy to some people. Because if you don't like for me, jazz and stuff like that, I don't like jazz, even though they have a jazz festival in the city I come from. I get out of the city. I used to get out of the city. It wasn't my thing. So some people put jazz, they think is cool and everything. But for me, if I'm listening to something that's jazz, I'm like straight away, I don't want to be listening to it. It's not putting me in the right frame of mind. So I don't think that the music is actually serving people anymore.
Yeah, and it's a thing where you try as a podcast host to accommodate and try to please everyone, and you can. Because, as you said, some people like music in shows, but others don't. And it's so hard trying to pinpoint and try to get something that everyone agrees on. Because here's someone that prefers the 5 minute intro, but then you'll get a comment that says your intro is way too long, you need to cut it. And then once you cut it, that person will be like, thank you for cutting it. But then that person that liked the long intro saying, why were you cutting it? So it's so hard trying to please everyone. I try to, for my shows, I try to keep the intro short because people do have such a short attention span. But I also want to try to get as much of my guest intro in there as well that they want shared. So I try to accommodate everyone, but there will always be someone out there that will not be happy with the format. I mean, there might be someone that's listening to my show now that hasn't said anything, but there's something that they don't like, and they're just kind of dealing with it. So it's hard to try to please everyone, but at the end of the day, really, you kind of just have to do it the way you want to, and people can like it or not like it.
And I think, and this goes out to a lot of people that are listening that are podcasters, the chances of you staying in the podcast game is when it's taking you less time to do. So if you're editing and spending hours doing all these intros, outros, and just making sure everything matches up, that sucks the energy out of it. And then you kind of go, oh, this is taking too much time. The other thing is, I'm just curious what way you do the screen, because I used to speaker views. So I said for the shorts that it was mainly, I was always doing the guest. But then I said, there's a lot of times I'm actually giving value. So I started putting in my own kind of points as well for the shorts. But then I done the split screen because I said, I was looking at a lot of stuff and I said, people are watching how the other person's reacting when they're talking. And I found that actually works better than the speaker view. And I'm just curious, have you played with that, or what way do you do it?
I usually don't do video for any of my podcasts at all, because for me that would just take a lot more work. I'm an audio only show, which later down the line, if I'm able to find someone that's willing to edit the video for me, I mean, I would be open to do video, but yeah, people don't know that I run everything. I run the show. I do all the editing. I do all the posting, everything. I do everything for my show. I don't have any help, which most people, if they want help, they want to get paid. And, I don't really necessarily get paid to do what I do. I don't get paid enough to be able to pay them. So, and it saves me money to be able to do everything. Um, I always, and even when I do like teasers and trailers for shows, I don't even use video for that because it would take a lot of editing to try to make a visual thing. So all I do is I just use my artwork for it on CapCut, which is like the TikTok editing thing. I just put the audio for that I've edited on top of it, and I just post that. So I don't put a lot of work into the teasers as well, but I don't think people really mind. I've not really had any complaints about what I do. So I do that, but I'd be open to do video podcasts as well if I had the resources to do it. But since I'm doing it all myself, and that would mean I'd have to edit the show twice. So I'd have to edit the audio version of it, and I'd also would have to edit the video version of it. And so that would take a lot more time. So I kind of, I'm kind of odd because a lot of people nowadays do video because video usually does well. And I thought, well, I would do it, but I just don't have the time. And it takes me long sometimes to just edit the episodes themselves. So to do audio on top of video as well, that would just take way too much time.
I know there's software that you can actually, as you're doing it in the video, it's doing the audio as well, or vice versa. But I used to do that at the start. I was doing all the audio, and I put up the video then, and there was inserting and stuff. Now it just goes out as it is. It's only if something happens. There's times there could be an internet crash. There could be, even though you'd have a sign on the door, someone could knock at the door, and then I can just cut that out, and it goes up as is. So the episode like this now, the one we're doing now, goes out as is. I enhance the audio quality, and it goes on Spotify, BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, and it's just done. So it doesn't take me it's actually less. I mean, I've got the 6 shows. I edit them all myself. I do all the stuff. The shorts are done by my team. But it takes me less time now, way less time than it did before. And I think it tried to do it that you're just putting them out as is. It depends as well, because who you're interviewing and how, the way that they come across. But I think as it is works better, and then you can get out, especially with the background that you've got, because you're losing out. You should get that. You should have more people doing that. So like, if you're doing a video, your guest will be sharing it as well, and they're seeing that, and that's more eyeballs seeing that, and they go, oh, that's interesting, and they start checking you out, and then they start listening to a show, then they start following you. So I think you're actually hurting yourself by not doing it, because I mean, it's a weird one, because I've got some videos that can get 20,000. Like my best video on YouTube on one of the, not the Polish one has got way bigger stuff, but the other one is over 22,000 or something like that, and the audio is 1,000 or something like that. But I've got other ones that the audio can be 5,000, 6,000, and the video doesn't get it. So you just don't know. It's never that it's like, oh, it's approximately the same. It can just fluctuate. So you're better off. I would encourage it to do the video and put it out in the thing, and just as it is, to send it to all the different platforms. And the same with all the listeners. I'm saying the same to you, because I've come across a lot of people. They go, I don't want to do the video. I tell everyone, you should do the video. Just blast it out there.
When I do my editing, I've had some people come on my show and tell names, and my show is very much a confidential show. And I know a lot of people said, well, what's the point of having a truthful podcast if you're not going to blast the name out on the show? And it's because I don't want trouble coming my way out of a lawsuit. I don't want someone to listen to it and then they get legal action against me and I get in trouble for having their name publicly shared. I know it gets annoying that I bleep their name out, but it's a way for me to kind of get my anger out. And it kind of leaves the listener in suspense of like, ooh, I wonder who he's talking about. And a good example was one of the first episodes I posted was about my classmates. I literally made a whole 1.5-hour episode about me blasting my class. And I went through my yearbook and I read every name out, of course, bleeped it, and just told my honest opinion about them. And that was like one of my most viewed or most listened to episodes was that episode. And um it was funny. I actually had one of my friends the other last night we were all on a group call, and he said, I actually listened to that episode, and you actually told a lot of stuff on there that I was surprised you'd say. And I thought, well, I had my opinions that I wanted to share with them about it. And a thing that people worry or probably have questions about is, are you not worried that they're going to come contact you? And it's something that goes in the back of my mind, but I don't publish their name on any platform. You don't hear any name at all. So I'm not saying like so and so. I'm not saying like John Doe did this or John Doe did that. I just I say the name, but then when I go and edit, I always just bleep it out to keep it safe, keep privacy, because I don't want them to get hate, and I don't want them to get no more attention because they already have enough attention as it is. And so it's just my way of being smart about it. And I don't want a legal thing. I don't want to get sued. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to get arrested for anything or like blasting people out of their name. It's just my way of being able to cope with a lot of built up anger I've had against them and being able to say their name and tell them this, this, and this. And then I put it out there. Um, so far I haven't had anyone on any show come out and say, was this directed at me? Was this said about me? So I'm sure it'll happen at some point, but it's just a thing of they probably won't ever know because every time I'll mention the name, it will never get mentioned on my show.
I never fear about legal sides and everything. I've done 1700, never had any issue. And even if I did, what I recommend is learn sovereignty. I cover that in my awakening. And that when people are trying to do things like that, you understand the rule books that they won't be able to take anything from you. So don't be worried about that. But then again, it's a nice style that people listen to it and they go, the curiosity element and, ooh, why is he blacking that out? And that might actually lead to more listeners. So everyone's got a unique tip. I like it. Listen, I like the graphic. I like the different things that you said. So you might let the listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so nervous about one episode because I blasted my whole school, my teachers as well, my experience from like kindergarten to now. And I remember in one of them, I think I talked about one of the teachers having an affair with somebody. So I'm a little nervous about that. I'm nervous about that episode going out, but it'll get bleeped out. But yeah, the podcast is available wherever you get your podcast from. It's Lethal Venom. If you're someone that likes to have more of a variety base, that's not really directed on one topic, and it's more just like a chaotic mess. You're more than welcome to check it out. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio. It's on YouTube and Pandora as well. My socials, for the podcast, it's Lethal Venom Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook and YouTube is Noah's Podcast. That's usually where all three of my podcasts are available on there. And as well as on my social media platforms, I'll post updates about when episodes are coming, trailers and teasers, and as well as the surveys for people that want to participate in those. And I also have a link tree as well. My link tree is linked in my Instagram bio. That's just all the podcast information and is everything, all of my social links and everything included, as well as some other links as well. It's all included in one place. So it's my link tree. It's called it's Noah's Podcast on there as well. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I've had such a great time telling my podcasting story with you, and thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
No problem at all. I'll make sure I put all the links as well as your link tree. My link tree got removed because with my awakening, they don't like what I'm doing. So I had about 5 or 6 different link tree. So they removed 3 of them. So I don't use it anymore. I use bio.link is the one that I use. I found it better. But but I'll make sure I'll put all the links both on the audio and the video. Thank you very much, Noah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So that's all for the PodFather. You can find all our episodes on podfather.me. Scan the QR code or go to roycolin.com to find my 6 shows, as well as my podcasting to help people that are existing podcasters, people starting a podcast, or if you want to do a podcast tour. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, go to va.world. And if you want to improve your brain, braingym.fitness. Until next week, take care.